talked to another parent this morning, and she told me the story of her 1-year-old child who was progressing normally until she got a little bit sick, and Dad took her into the doctor. And the doctor said, "Oh, you're not up to date on all your vaccines, and did you know you can get the flu vaccine?" And so they administered it. Her fever got worse. She was injured by the vaccine. They admitted her to the hospital. And by the time she got out, she experienced neurological regression and was diagnosed with autism.
You can understand why parents who love their kids more than anything and would do anything for their kids are understandably concerned about any possibility that vaccines could increase the probability of autism.
There's a massive Danish study that tracks patients who were vaccinated, kids who were vaccinated, matched with patients, similar patients who were not, tracks them for a year or longer and years, and finds no difference, for the MMR vaccine.
There is no clinical study anywhere that will convince that parent that the vaccine, which coincided with the onset of her child's autism, did not cause the autism, because that's the parent's experience. And she's not the only one. I've heard from several parents. The pattern is so familiar.
I have 2 boys and a girl. Both of my boys were diagnosed with autism after regressing at age 2. And my daughter actually started having seizures at that same time. Around 2 years old. The pregnancy was very difficult. The first trimester was pretty good. I was exercising, feeling pretty good. The second trimester, I kind of started to have some bleeding, a little bit of premature contractions. I was put on progesterone, on bed rest. So essentially for me, I was laying down for the last 20 weeks of my pregnancy and indoors, and air conditioning and blue light and all that. And then it was about 1.5 years that Ryan, I noticed it was very strange. He regressed a little. Maybe his speech dipped down a little. It was nothing severe, but he actually presented as tremors. So I went to the neurologist and we're starting to get this workup. And they said, well, he may actually have autism.
The single greatest risk factor for a child's autism spectrum disorder diagnosis before the age of 10 is the metabolic state of the mother during pregnancy. When the mitochondria aren't right, the neurological development of the child is atypical.
And then at around 24 months in the summer, I noticed that it was pretty quick. It was like 2 weeks. My other son, who had been completely on target, 95th percentile weight and height, he basically stopped eating. He started with horrible diarrhea, and he basically would start spinning in the circles in rooms, stop making eye contact, stop speech. I mean, this happened over a course of 2 weeks. I mean, complete regression of skills. He had over 50 words. So basically, we rushed to the pediatrician. They said, this is autism. This is what autism looks like. Now you have 2 boys with autism. Your daughter's having seizures. And I get chills thinking about it. It was such a haze. It was so surreal.
Autism is founded in atypical neurological development that results from mitochondrial impairment. The brain is developing so fast during pregnancy and during the first 3 years of life, and it is the mitochondria that guide that development. When the mitochondria are impaired in any way, the brain development is atypical. But the autism does not emerge until there's a fever that causes inflammation, until there's some immunological event. And of course, that can be a vaccine.
There's a lot of chatter about how vaccines cause autism. Vaccines seem more like the trigger, the immunological activation of a brain that is already at risk or predisposed.
It's not only the trigger, but it's a trigger within a certain time period, because the brain is very vulnerable in those first years of life.
When it's developing,
the mitochondria is extremely important in almost every phase of brain development. And prenatally, it actually is important for getting the cells where they need to be. Mm-hmm. There's actually an animal model that's very interesting that shows there's myelin abnormalities if you have mitochondrial dysfunction, and changes in the way that the neurons are actually connected. Mm. We know that the metabolic rate of the mitochondria. It can't be too high or too low. It has to be in this Goldilocks region in order for the neurons to grow correctly. They can grow too long or too short otherwise. So it's very important, even prenatally.
There is one theory of the origins of autism that integrates all of the others, and it is the mitochondrial theory. All of the environmental toxins, all of the gastrointestinal disturbances or the dysbiosis in the gut, they act through the mitochondria. It is the mitochondrial theory of autism that integrates all the other theories, and it is therapies that target the mitochondria that will treat autism and lead, when there is neuroplasticity, to the recovery of those lost neurological capabilities.